Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Um, what I hope to share with you is my story, which hopefully is a story of hope and encouragement. Where's our clicker? Oh, it's a different one. Okay, sorry. So who am I? Right? I'm a normal guy. I'm 50 years old, 50 years young. I grew up in New York State. I'm an IT guy by schooling and profession. I'm a technical geek. I'm married. I've got 4 kids, ranging in ages from 21 to 8. I live in Richmond, Virginia, and I'm retired at this point. It doesn't think I've missed a bullet point on there. Anyway, that's who I am in a quick nutshell. Rewind to 2013. Life was good. Life was great. You know, family, vacations. It was about Christmas time, a week or so before Christmas time. This was a picture that we took for our Christmas cards that year. And then all of a sudden, this roller coaster of cancer hit my family, my friends, which a lot of you can relate to, I'm sure. Some mild itching and fatigue that I had led to testing and diagnosis. I've never had anything wrong with me physically. I'm not a drinker. I'm not a smoker. I don't eat well. I don't exercise regularly. But my wife said, and I don't go to the doctor, and I don't take medicine. I just didn't bother. But my wife said, it's a little strange. You're laying on the couch on the weekends. It's not you. So I went to my primary care physician. He did some blood work, and I'm not sure why this is cut off. I apologize. The liver enzymes were through the roof. 8 to 12 times normal upper limits. So that led to some more testing, and apologize. I got a call one morning from a specialist where I went in and had some more blood work done. And he called me at work on a Wednesday morning, and he said, in a thick Polish accent, he said, "Mr. Reidy, I'm very concerned, and I want you to check into the hospital. Go home, pack a bag. Someone will call you and tell you where to go." By this time, I had done my research. I knew that something was wrong. It was either a gallbladder issue, maybe something simple, or this cancer that I couldn't even pronounce. I left work in a hurry that morning. I don't know if you can see this or not. I took a banana to work for breakfast, and this is that banana from over 3 years ago, so it's kind of mummified. I'll put it here on my shirt. Maybe you can see it better. But I kept this banana. Went to the local hospital, which is the best hospital in Virginia outside of Washington, D.C. It's a level 1 trauma center, liver transplantation center. They diagnosed me preliminarily with cholangiocarcinoma and gave my wife and I teddy bears and books to tell my younger children what happened to me when I died. I had done some research. Thank God the head of the GI team that I was seeing had a connection with Dr. Gores from the Mayo Clinic and had sent him a picture of my MRI or an MRCP, one of the two, by phone, I think. And they were getting ready to come in and do some brushings and different things. And literally, the doctor's phone, who had just told me that I had cancer, rang, and he silenced it without looking at it. And then the other doctor with him, his phone rang, and he looked at it, and it was their chief guy that had sent this picture to Dr. Gores. And he answered the phone, and Dr. Gores basically said, stop. Don't do anything else to this guy if he has any chance of entering the Mayo transplant protocol. you're going to ruin that opportunity if you do anything else. So this was on a Thursday. That Thursday night, I got in touch with Mayo Clinic and went through the normal process of, first things first, what insurance do you have? Let's see if Mayo Clinic will take your insurance or not. I live on the East Coast. It was 4:45. My insurance at the time was Aetna. They're East Coast based and they close at 5 o'clock. So I had to wait overnight in the hospital to find out whether or not I could go to Mayo Clinic and I could even potentially get a liver transplant, which at the time was, I thought, my only hope. Friday morning, I woke up in the hospital. I talked to my local doctor. I'm still waiting to hear. I looked at him in the eye and I said, what happens if insurance doesn't cover this? I said, what do people do? And he looked at me stone cold and he said, they die. That's our system. They die. Luckily, my insurance covered things. Mayo Clinic made appointments for me starting at 8 o'clock the following Monday. That's the day before Christmas Eve. That would have been Monday, December 23rd, 2013. So my wife and I went home. We wrote wills, powers of attorney, trust funds. I luckily have a brother who is a lawyer and a financial planner. So in about 8 hours, we got our stuff together, so to speak, and we had an early Christmas and took some pictures that may have been the last pictures I had, as far as I knew. I was scared to death. So those are pictures before my wife and I had our one-way tickets to go to Minnesota for who knows how long. So off we go to Minnesota. Dr. Gores, Dr. Risby, who are both over here, and Dr. Nagorny were my team. I went through the liver transplant protocol, every test under the sun that I could imagine. There was not a darn thing wrong with me, except for this cholangio. But in the process, it was discovered. So I had parahilar cholangio, and I was given the opportunity to have a resection, which I chose to do versus a transplant. And I went back in January. I had a resection. This is all the technical stuff. Stage 2. I had clear margins. Went so far as someone on the team actually said cured. They used that word. I had a rough time though. I had some bile leaks. I had about an 8-hour surgery the first day, and then 24 hours later they had to open me back up and go in and fix some leaks. I spent 10 days in the hospital. Again, my wife and I never had any health problems. It was brutal. Wow, and I'm running out of time, so I'm going to fly through this. I recovered, and I made it to 48 years old. At my 1-year checkup, I had a recurrence. There was a little spot in my peritoneal cavity, basically near the anastomosis. Checked it out. It was definitely recurrence. So I made I wanted them to go in and cut it out, but I was told no. It's metastasized. There's no point. So I made a deal with Dr. Nagorny, my surgeon, and I said, all right, I'll do some chemo. If it doesn't progress, will you go in and cut it out? I said yes. So I went back home and I got a port installed and I did chemo. I only did 2 rounds, 6 infusions. It helped. I went back to Mayo and I had surgery for the recurrence, but we couldn't get it out. It was too close to the anastomosis, not enough bile duct left to reconstruct, so that was a fail. So then I pursued radiation. I did an IMRT radiation back out at Mayo. I spent 6 weeks out at Mayo by myself in the summer. I did 56 grays, 28 fractions, and that didn't work. In fact, it blew out the endocrine system of my pancreas, so now I take Creon for the rest of my life. But I made it to 49 after that. And it was at that point that I was sort of out of options. My local oncologist in Richmond suggested, based on my Foundation 1 mutations, that I try Keytruda. I didn't qualify for any trials because my disease was not measurable on scans. I made it to 50 years old, which was a goal of mine. This is a chart that shows my CA19-9 history. CA19-9, luckily, is a spot-on indicator for my disease. So I start on the left with diagnosis. It was in the 200s, 300s, 400s at this point. And then I have my resection. Things drop off. The colors kind of represent my physical well-being, quality of life. Recovery was rough for me. I had a good 6 to 8 months. And then I had my recurrence. You can see the CA19-9 go up there. I felt fine, no issues. I did chemo. CA19-9 started to drop down. I felt like crap. I hated chemo. I had my surgery that failed for the recurrence. I did my radiation, and things kept getting worse from a CA19-9 perspective. And then I started on pembrolizumab, Keytruda, and you can see there the dramatic effect shortly after starting that. And I've been Ned, so to speak, ever since. My Foundation 1 report here, I've got some of the common mutations, KRAS and TP53 and things, but it was this MLH1 at the bottom of the list that at the time I had the report done was this thing that they had no recommendations for. That's the thing we keyed in on. I'm speeding up here, but yesterday there was a reference made to this New England Journal of Medicine article on the mismatch repair study done at Johns Hopkins, and the black line, the non-colorectal cancer people, there are in fact some cholangio people in that study, and the black line is what we were shooting for. My oncologist is a young guy. Thank God he read this article and put 2 and 2 together, and this is what we based my my stab at pembrolizumab on. So MLH1, it's a mismatch repair deficit gene and leads to this MSI. I won't go into that, but basically I superimpose my history of CA19-9 onto the New England Journal of Medicine chart, and you can see that it tracks. Went up initially and then down dramatically and then stayed down. You can see it a little better there. So basically, I consider myself the luckiest unlucky guy I know. I've had an interesting journey, and I want to hopefully offer hope to the patients and the caregivers here and elsewhere and in the future, and encouragement to the medical community to keep moving forward. You know, this drug didn't exist when I got diagnosed. It didn't come up in my report. The timing was perfect. I consider myself cured. I've had no side effects from this drug, and life has never been better. So I consider it a blessing in many ways to have had this cancer. I've met tons of people. I've dedicated, I've stopped working, I've retired. I've dedicated a lot of time and energy to learning about things. I'm not a scientist, but I've really dug into learning about this disease and get a lot of satisfaction from helping others. So thanks for listening.